Hey, welcome to the first ever Milwaukee Music Lessons podcast episode. My name is Alex Bennett.
And I'm Robyn Bennett.
And thanks for joining us. This is our first stab at doing a podcast. And so
it's what everyone does.
Yeah, we have no idea. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing. But that's okay. We're going to have fun doing it. And hopefully you guys can glean something off of what we've got here for you today. So I thought for kind of the first ever podcast episode, it might just be kind of fun to get to know us a little bit better and learn a little bit about our backgrounds and what it is that we do. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. All right, sounds good. So all right, so I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine here, right? So started off, went to Wells School, as you know,
yeah,
right?
the singing church.
Yes, the singing church, of course, out in Muskego. And, so you kind of get started.
There's music everywhere.
Yeah, all the time, like
all
from preschool, we're doing music constantly. First actual stab at a music instrument, though, was, I want to say, either first or second grade, something like that. I want to say second grade. I did that for 3 years. Was not my cup of tea.
What instrument was it?
It was piano. Did I say
okay.
piano?
No, you didn't say that.
Okay, all right. We'll check the replay.
So piano, not guitar.
No, not guitar.
Okay.
No, piano was my first instrument. Took it from the pastor's wife, which Laura, love you. You're a sweet lady if you're watching
Shout
this.
out, Laura.
Yeah. Laura Bonock, thank you very much. It wasn't you, it was me, I promise.
That's what they all say.
No, my dad really wanted me to do piano first. A lot of parents do, right?
Yeah.
They want you to learn that way.
It's good fundamentals.
It is good fundamentals, but it was not for me. And so
Sure.
after like 3 years, I was like, Dad, can we please be done? And he acquiesced. So then I kind of took a break from musical instruments for a long time. I did a little bit of like junior choir back in, at the end of grade school,
just
middle
in school.
Yeah, just in school stuff.
Were you able to choose to do junior choir, or was it just everyone had to do it?
No, you had the option, right? You either did junior choir, or I think you just basically got like a study period.
Okay.
But I liked singing. Sure. I was the loudest kid in the class, probably still am.
Yeah.
And so I was totally cool with it. And then like high school came around, and I was really getting excited about music. A lot of people when they get to high school, like music hits differently. And so I was really getting excited about it, and I asked my dad to teach me how to play guitar, and it went very poorly. Because my dad was my dad was a guitar player. He played for a long time. I don't know all of his history or his background, but he would come around and play around the campfire every once in a while with his 12 string. And so that was really cool, and I really wanted to learn how to do that. It was like that and drums. And so could not get a drum set because it was too loud. We didn't have the electronic options that we do nowadays. And the guitar teaching went poorly because he was like, put your finger here, put your finger here, put your finger here. It like didn't bother explaining to me like any string names, any frets, like which fingers I should use.
It was like Phoebe trying to teach Joey guitar, and it's just make the claw.
I know the people that you're referencing, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's okay, someone will get it.
Okay, sounds good. All of our friends, audience, fans here. It's all right over my head. Anyways, so the where was I? I lost my train of thought here now. Oh,
your dad was a great dad, but a poor guitar teacher.
Correct. Yeah, that's a great way to sum that up. Got it. And so I just thought I was bad at it, and so I like for a long time didn't try to play again. And then middle of sophomore year, I inherited a guitar, and suddenly it was like, okay, I'm going to take ownership. So we were, it's kind of, the internet was huge. It was getting bigger all the time. YouTube was just becoming a thing. You could search anything and everything you wanted to on Google. And so I just started looking up, like, how do you play Iron Man was like my first song, classic trope. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I did Iron Man was my first.
It wasn't Freebird?
It was not Freebird, no. That took me a while to get to. And so, yeah, so I learned by myself for a while, and I did that like kind of secretly in my cave for like a year. And then the high school talent competition came up.
Ah, yes.
And I got hooked up.
Hideaway?
Hideaway Cafe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a Wisconsin Lutheran high school thing, for those of you who don't know. And it's, it was like, it changed just my fervor for it, like,
Sure.
Quadrupled in a day.
Absolutely.
And suddenly that's all I wanted to do. And so I got into bands, never did like jazz band, never did any of the school programs or anything like that outside of the Hideaway talent competition.
You just got together with friends.
Just, found people. We were, my buddy his dad would sneak he and I into the bars to go do open jams. I mean, we weren't drinking or anything, but we were 17 years old, 16 years old, going up there and playing on stage with all these 40-year-old guys doing these blues jams and everything. And then by sheer coincidence, my cousin had gotten into Berklee College of Music, and he was telling me all about it. And at the time, I was going to Milwaukee School of Engineering, MSOE.
Yeah.
And I was like, this looks awesome.
What were you going to MSOE for?
I was going there as a computer engineer.
Computer, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't sit right?
I was good at it, but I wasn't loving it.
Okay.
And so my grandfather, who was kind of the one who was watching me at the time, he was like really intense on like, well, if you love music so much, why don't you go into like electrical engineering and learn how to like make amplifiers and things like that. Go work for
practical knowledge.
Right, exactly. That was very much his mindset. He was very big into the trades, and he really thought that I should go and do something with engineering or trades to be able to do that. And I mean, I think a lot of parents feel that way because it's when you say I'm going to go do music for a living, there's a lot of horror stories about people who
skepticism.
Yeah, and like understandably so, because a lot of musicians are artists first and business people like 14th down the line. And so, it's understandable. Like, I totally get that perspective. He's just trying to watch out for me. But I said, I really want to go do this. And so after a lot of long talks, he was like, okay, I support you. And,
That's awesome.
So I auditioned kind of on a whim, went down to Chicago for a day, auditioned, and got the acceptance letter like 3 months later.
Sweet.
Which I was not, like, everybody was telling me, like, no way it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And, because Berklee has a very low acceptance rating. Like, it's not a lot.
Right. So Berklee in Boston.
Correct.
Right,
not California.
Is kind of like the jazz Juilliard.
Yeah, that's probably...
In kind of like how much they accept people and kind of like the prestige of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think compared to Juilliard, now I don't know if this has changed in the years, so somebody fact check me. But I think Juilliard, at least at the time anyways, like there was just a Juilliard degree. Like you just got a degree from Juilliard. But Berklee was like, no, you get we have like 14 different degrees or whatever it was at the time. There's probably more now, but at the time I think 14 was the number of degrees that they offer in various fields. And so I wanted to take that love of music and turn it into a music production and engineering degree. So basically like the sound guys.
Yeah.
But that was also a very hard degree to get into. And because I had gone from MSOE and even I did a semester at UW Milwaukee too before that, the program was a 6-year or six semester program. And I was already coming in with essentially like 2 years worth of stuff done.
Sure.
So it just, money was tight and it was not gonna work out for me.
Sure.
So I ended up doing 6 semesters in like 2 years. So I
So like summers and winters too?
Yeah. I did the entire music program in 2 years, and it's a 4-year program. So I like it was buckle down time for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
But it was so cool. There was so many cool experiences that came from it. And so I did that, and then I stayed in Boston for like another year, and then I ended up moving back to Milwaukee. There was some family stuff going on, and my grandfather, who I had mentioned before, was having troubles, and I wanted to come back and try and help him out. And so it was kind of a good excuse to come back home. And then, after he passed away, I didn't really have any like specific ties to stay here, but I didn't have any specific reasons to leave. And then suddenly I met some girl and got married, and now I've been here ever since.
Well, like, what about music stuff that you did when you came back here?
Oh boy, that is a laundry list that we don't have time for. But that's,
okay.
but
basically, you were in a few bands and you were teaching when you came here. Right?
I remember very specifically there was a point my first year coming back where I was involved in 8 bands at one time.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
How do you keep the scheduling? Oh my Lord!
Which is why I went very quickly from 8 down to 3.
Yeah, that'll fizzle out fast.
Yeah. It was.
Holy moly.
I had a rehearsal every day of the week for all these different bands, but it was at the time, I was just hungry trying to stay alive.
Sure.
And so that's kind of actually, funnily enough, how I got started doing the teaching thing. I had been teaching in Boston. I got somehow into the Guitar Center's teaching program.
Sure.
They have a studios program. I think they have it here in the Milwaukee location too. And that's how I got started, was teaching there. And then when I came back, I started putting up ads in Craigslist at the time, because Craigslist was still huge. And different locations. I was doing Groupon deals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that, and then I was doing just as many gigs as I could possibly. Yeah,
just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of them were backwater bars, very,
as you do,
very low paying. It's we were excited if we were making $100 at a show,
right?
But I was gigging virtually every night of the week.
Wow,
it was just every day. I remember one year we had St. Patrick's Day, and it was just 12 or 14 days in a row of just nonstop. Sometimes twice a day.
Wow,
just going. But that's what I needed to stay afloat, right? I had I needed to just get my name out there.
Yeah.
And it was brutal experience at the time, but I could kind of get away with it. I didn't really have any ties. I was essentially living in my grandparents' basements,
Right. Kind of being a nomad. You do whatever you needed to do.
Yeah. Couch crashing a little bit too sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but that was, anyways, so that didn't last forever though. Eventually we moved out from that, and the bands got better, and I got smarter, and we were building up, and now I'm lucky enough now that I have a band. I can just have the one band. And, so Sons of Scani, in case you guys don't know, check us out. Where, it's winter time right now, so we're not very active, but come summertime, we're 2, 3, 4 shows a week sometimes.
Yep.
Playing some big locations, Summerfest, State Fair, a lot of church festivals, other events, things like that. So
cool.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's, that's the short
the short version.
Funnily enough.
Yeah. Okay. My turn?
Yeah. What about you?
Okay. So same as you, grew up in the singing church.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a big family, so they would all sing in different, different parts when we were singing hymns and stuff. So just being steeped in that from a very young age kind of just gives you not only a innate musical sense, but I have a pretty good ear from that as well.
Sure.
So just being steeped in that.
And the younger you can get that too, the better.
So good. My first instrument was also piano.
Okay.
All of my siblings, my mom said, all of us were taking piano at least through grade school, middle school. So K through 8 was our school. So
you had 8 years.
Yeah, I started in first grade with piano, and we would do summers too. And then in 3rd and 4th grade, I started a junior choir program with the Wisconsin Lutheran High School, and a band program. So I was doing piano, and then you added on choir, and then you added on band. So I decided to do percussion. So that meant I was taking lessons on snare drum and a glockenspiel, a little xylophone, which we still have, by the way. And then add on in 7th and 8th grade, there was a guitar teacher. So then I took guitar for 7th and 8th grade. Played a couple of things with my sister. I think the first thing I learned to play was a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
I think it was the Romeo and Juliet song. My sister and I could play together, guitar and piano. So that was fun. So there were some days where if it was snowing, I had all my lessons on the same day. So in like 7th or 8th grade, I'm loading up the sled with my giant percussion thing that had both the keys and the snare, and then my guitar in there and my piano books like shoved in there, and I'd like drag that whole thing up to school. Thank goodness we only lived like a block and a half away from school. So I would just walk with this sled full of instruments all the way up to school.
Was your sled's name Rosebud?
I don't understand that reference.
That's
but
okay.
No.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's a very old movie.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
No, I don't know. So when I got to high school, I didn't really take piano lessons anymore, but I was in all the choirs. So I was in freshman choir when I was in freshman choir. I actually skipped women's choir. Sorry, Mrs. Schramm. But I did join jazz choir. And I did the musicals. I did musicals every year that I was in there. I never did pit orchestra. That's the only thing that I'm really sad about. Is that I never like did all the different things in association with a musical.
Yeah.
So I did all those, and then I was also in concert band, marching band, percussion ensemble. I eventually joined the jazz band. So I was doing a lot of things. Handbell choir. I did a lot of stuff in high school, and it got pretty overwhelming because I had like APs and stuff. So thank God for my junior and senior band director who would like come to me when I was hanging out in the band room between stuff, and he said, just go home. Don't stay for jazz band tonight. He was like, he saved a little bit of my mental health. Shout out Jordan Beckman. Love you.
Saved you from yourself.
Saved me from myself for a little bit, but there were like the big end of the year concert where literally every musical group in the school would play at the end of the year. My parents and my family members would just like count how many times I would like change outfits or change my hair or be like running from one to one to one. I remember my senior year was just like, there were maybe a handful of acts that I wasn't a part of. So I was just like running with like a chicken with my head cut off. Thank goodness when I got to college, I kind of just, all right, I auditioned to be in the voice college. So that's how I got started there. I didn't play percussion anymore. So I was focused on voice, and then my degree I was getting was in music education, general music, and choral. So I got classes both on like how to teach a choir how to sing, but also individual voices.
Sure.
And like general music instruments. I got really good at recorder.
That's right. I know. I've bought you a few recorders.
I have
over the year.
I
bought you that bass recorder.
I know, which was really awesome.
I think it's ginormous.
I love it. I have too many recorders for a sane human being. Anyways, so then towards the end of college, I started directing the church choir from my home church. We got married my junior year.
Yep.
Then I started singing in the church band with you. I played in a community concert band for a few years, on and off. I just joined a community choir. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, I didn't do too much music teaching, but kind of you had this business going on, and after I had taken some time off teaching for medical stuff, then you were like, hey, let's do this together. And I was like, hey, it could be like your secretary. And he's like, you could like teach stuff. So here I am teaching stuff.
It's not like you didn't have experience teaching.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know?
I had 6 years of teaching experience.
I think it was just the change in environments.
Yeah,
You know, it's
definitely.
very different when you transition from the school system where
Right,
there's a
the
lot of
classroom,
things.
lots of kids.
There's a lot of things. Yeah, it's a larger environment. It's not one-on-one.
Mhm.
But also there's a lot of things that are provided for you. They
Right.
tell you what the curriculum should be.
Mhm.
Whereas when you're on your own, it's like you get to decide everything. You
Right.
get to decide what people learn, what order they learn it in.
Sure.
What your recommendations are. And it's a little bit of the first time, like I remember for me when I first started teaching, it was daunting because I was like, so you mean I get to decide everything? Like it was almost like
Sure.
it was almost like I was their judge, jury, and executioner of music.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
how it felt at first.
So I didn't have too much of the you must teach this when I was teaching in a classroom.
Oh, okay.
I actually had a lot more of here's the stuff we have, go for it. So I felt very like I was pretty good at taking what I had and running with it, actually. So it wasn't too big of that thing. I think it was just going from 30 or 16 kids down to one that was really just, I can just worry about only one person at a time,
Yeah.
which was really just lift a burden, off of my shoulders.
Yeah. It's a different way of teaching for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, I would probably have the opposite problem going the other direction.
Sure.
Just because it would, it's a different style.
It is.
You have to account for, like, you have to assume that everybody's starting from the same spot, even though not everybody is starting from the same spot.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that's hard.
You adjust, obviously, but if you're teaching, whether you're teaching like, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, you got to get to know everybody and find out where they're going.
Exactly.
So I am kind of excited there. I think that eventually here we'll probably offer some sort of like group environments.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun to be able to just jam with people. That's not something that I really got into until I started doing like the church band.
Yeah.
Because I had always learned everything like, here's the music, you play what's on here. And so that was my first experience with like, here's a lead sheet. And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What is a lead sheet? And so then I started getting more into, here's the letter of the chord. You just play a chord or some kind of whatever variant, which I had done a little bit of that in college. They taught me, they're like, here's some music. You got to come up with an accompaniment to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a little bit of that background, but I didn't expect it to apply elsewhere so quickly.
You go from here's the sheet music, which is like a folder's
Here's
worth of
literally
stuff.
Everything you should play.
Yeah, versus it's like, okay, so we fit the entire song onto one page,
Right?
and it's very bare bones. It's here's the lyrics, here's the letter of the chords that go on top. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's very analogous to kind of how some teaching is. Some of it you get very much like, here's everything you must do to the letter, bam, script, you got it. Where there's other stuff where it's just like, here's the outline, do with it what you want.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time actually did a little bit of an article not that long ago on the website that was talking about the importance of improvisation because like improvisation,
such a big thing.
Improvisation's all about how well do you know what you know and can you like transform it and make it into your own.
Yeah.
And a lot of when you're in school, your teachers might give you a presentation or might ask you to like, can you present it to the class?
Sure.
And the whole point of that presentation is like, we want to see how well you know, because they tell you, you don't really know how well you understand something
until you teach it to someone else.
Correct.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
that's so true.
Improv is kind of another way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take time to get used to, and it's scary because you're basically just gonna throw things at the wall, and there's gonna be a lot of things that don't stick at the beginning. So there's not a lot of immediate gratification surrounding it. But boy, once you take that,
once you get it, I know. I think my first like technical improvisation thing was, you're driving with your brother or your sister in the car and there's a song that you really like and you try to sing harmonies and then my sister would be like, that does not sound right.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like, you just poke around and see what works and you're like, okay, that did not work.
Yeah.
And so learning how to teach that in college, like learning to teach improvisation, was a really cool experience that I had never done before. And we could do a whole thing about improvisation.
Yeah.
But we have to go.
We do. Yeah,
We
we're out of
go.
time. So anyways, thank you guys so much for sitting in with us on this first episode. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. If you are watching this on YouTube, then please subscribe. Or if you're watching it on Facebook, please like the video. If there's anything that you want to hear us cover in future episodes,
let us know.
Yeah, we really want to know.
Ask us questions.
Please. We really want to know what you guys want to know and what are some things that we could do and cover that might help you guys out. I know we've got some ideas for stuff for us to talk about. I know we've talked about the idea of bringing in some guests, some local people doing some stuff. And so there's a lot of stuff thrown out in the air. Speaking of like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, like here we go.
This is what we're doing.
So anyways, thanks again so much. Again, my name's Alex Bennett.
I'm Robyn Bennett.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much.